Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Extra Mile. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr., Jen B., and Christopher Lehman are with us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, here in the state of Maryland, it has been a few days of mourning after the tragic collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Just after 1 a.m. on Tuesday, a cargo ship named the Dolly ran into catastrophic electrical failures and lost propulsion systems. Despite the crew's valiant efforts to give a mayday call, which saved countless lives, as well as trying to save the ship itself from a collision with the bridge, the 940-foot, several thousand-ton vessel unfortunately collided with the Francis Scott Key Bridge just outside of Baltimore. The collision dropped the bridge into the water. Unfortunately, on that bridge was a construction crew of 8. 2 individuals were pulled out of the water. Unfortunately, 6 did lose their lives in this accident. It will take some time to put the bridge back together, to get the port back open, but none of that matters at this moment. Our thoughts and our prayers are with the families of the 6 individuals that did not make it off that bridge on Tuesday night. We will have a moment of silence in their memory and get started with our program. Thank you. And I want to welcome in my co-host, Christopher Lehman and Jen B. Glad to have you guys here this evening to discuss what was an interesting race weekend, which got started on Saturday night, where we will start with the Formula One Australian Grand Prix. And it's almost remarkable to say that Max Verstappen did not win that race.
Yeah, that's the the second time we can say that in like the last 24 races.
Yeah, 2 times in 2 years. I don't know whether to be happy or sad that we unfortunately have to do this and act like it's such a big deal, but that's the state of Formula One right now. But Jen, Chris, I don't know if either of you stayed up to watch the race, but it seemed like there was some sort of brake issue. The brake caught on fire, which ended Max's day.
Yeah, not really sure. I did not stay awake. I actually, Steph woke up and she said she thought about waking me up to see if I wanted to watch it, but unfortunately I didn't watch it, and unfortunately Max didn't win. As our resident Red Bull slash Max fan, disappointing result, but it's not been a disappointing couple of years, so we can live with a second loss in 20 some races.
I think he's going to still win the championship going away, but at least we know that that team can be human for a weekend. Jen, it was exciting to kind of see a different winner and Carlos Sainz pull it out.
Yes, definitely. Of course, I did pick Max this week or last week, so it figures.
You know what's
But
crazy?
go ahead.
I was gonna say Carlos is the only one who's won when Max hasn't in the last 2 years. Like,
Interesting.
yeah, Carlos won both races that Max didn't.
Yep.
That'd be England and this past weekend.
Well, it was Singapore last year.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was Singapore.
And then it was
It was
England in 2022. It was England.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think Carlos won that one too, didn't he?
Yeah, because that's the one where we were trying to figure out if they were going to let Leclerc through.
Yeah,
and they did not.
didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, so the last 3 years, go ahead,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I was just gonna say the exact same thing you did.
Mm-hmm.
If the last 3 races Max lost, Carlos won.
He's going to be the
Now,
hottest free agent.
I think he ends up in Checo's seat personally.
Definitely.
Horner made a comment about it.
I mean, Checo's got to pick it up, or there's going to be a Spaniard taking the Mexican seat.
I think Checo's gone anyway.
Yeah. But
Sorry,
the other,
I didn't mean to cut you off, Jen.
no, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead,
it's
Jen.
fine. I did actually. I watched parts of the race. I didn't stay up for it. I recorded it and watched it the next day. But I watched until Max left, and then I fast forwarded towards the end and watched the finish. But it I was just like, I saw it all over Twitter right before I went to bed that he was a DNF. I was like, of course he is because I picked him this week.
Yeah, he's almost
Go
virtually
figure.
guaranteed. But if it makes you feel better, I'll go back and look. We had only two people picking, but
Yeah.
but we had a Lewis too, and Lewis DNF'd. So
I'm pretty
weren't good.
sure Miriam picked Carlos at random and won last week.
Well, I was going to pick Carlos 2 weeks ago, but he had his appendix out. There's some good memes about that too.
He took. Apparently, everybody's going to start getting appendix surgery at this point
Yeah.
because Alex Albon got it, and then he got a lot faster. Carlos gets it and wins. You're just going to see guys getting appendectomies all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. Charles Leclerc is already on the phone with his doctor.
I don't even know if that would help him the way it's going, but on the other
Was
side,
that the year the Bengals made the Super Bowl too? The year that Joe Burrow had his appendix out?
No, it was the year after.
Okay.
It was either the year after or 2 years after. I don't remember. I think 2 years. I think it was this past year he had it out.
you know who could use an appendectomy? Everyone at Mercedes, because this has been a disaster of a season, really a disaster the last 3 years.
I thought you
since
were going to
2021
say.
ended.
I thought you were going to say everybody at 2311.
Oh, don't even get me started on that. Well, I'll get started on that eventually. But the Mercedes, they are a shit. I'm not going to use that given what just happened, but they're in trouble again. Both cars go out. Lewis due to an engine failure, and then Russell chasing Alonso on the last lap ends up upside down in the middle of the racetrack. Alonso did get a penalty for that, but we've got to have a conversation about George Russell and the fact that every time he is in a position where he is chasing someone down at the end of a race, he absolutely falls all over himself and causes a wreck.
Yeah.
I think
You're absolutely right. I
and
remember
think
with Botas a couple of years ago.
that was at Imola when he just ran in the back of him.
Yeah.
That was 2021 when he just drove in the back of him at Imola and destroyed the then Williams.
Yeah. Because I think he had already gotten the seat that year too, didn't he? Or hadn't it been announced
Oh no, it was
yet?
It was 2020. It was when he was still trying to get the seat, and then he drove the Mercedes later that year, and Mercedes screwed up the pit stop. He should have won that race in Bahrain, but
Those pit stops will get you every time.
Yep. And that's one of the things Mercedes is bad at. George, I don't know what it is about him, but it feels like when he gets into those late race moments, and it happened last year with Singapore when Mercedes dead to rights had a 1-2 and George could not get the move done, which cost them the chance of that 1-2. He gets the lights get the brightest on him, and he just absolutely falls apart. And if he's going to be the number one driver next year, he has to figure out what the mental block is that is causing these issues when he gets in the late race situation, because he's going to be expected to bring a championship to that team next year. And definitely in 2026 when the regulations change, because he's going to be the guy. Whoever, unless Max Verstappen ends up in that seat next year with whatever's going on with Red Bull right now, George is going to be the guy. And he has to elevate his craft, or else he's going to be another one of the drivers looking for another seat.
Yeah. No, you are. I would say I don't even have anything to add because you just perfectly said what I would say.
Mm-hmm. It's rough. We'll see how it goes, but Mercedes, I think Toto Wolff, it's time for him to go. I think it's been 3 years. They are only third because the teams that should have jumped them. Actually, let me check where they are in the standings now, because there are 3 races in. It's a good time to start looking at the points. They are currently in the constructor standings. They are fourth in the constructors right now.
Yeah,
4th place. That is unacceptable for a team of that nature. We're not even going to talk about the disaster that is Alpine. That's a whole nother conversation. But Mercedes was leading this championship. Now they're not even in the podium right now. And they are in danger of dropping to 5th. If they finish this season 5th, you can't keep him. He's not the guy to bring you out of what happened in Abu Dhabi 2021 and get the vengeance that Stuttgart has won it for 4 years now, and they're probably or 3 years now rather, and getting impatient for. And I mean, we see it all the time in football. We just saw it with Belichick. You can win as many championships as you want. Once you start falling and cratering, you're not even reaching half of what your standard is, you're out of there. And I think Mercedes is going to have to take that step with Toto, because what's going on right now is not working. And I'll put it like this, and I'll throw it to Jen and then Chris. The last 3 years, they've had the same issue, rear stability. They haven't fixed it. At this point, if you can't figure out how to fix it, Mercedes has to go in there and get somebody that can.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. That 3 years to fix one problem, that's, I mean, I could understand if they fixed that problem and then there was a different problem.
Mm-hmm.
But can't have the same issue going on for 3 years straight.
No. And the issue is, while they're still trying to fix that issue, Red Bull is making a rocket ship, and Ferrari is doing their best to prepare for Lewis Hamilton arriving next year, putting together an excellent car over there. And they might be able to fight with Red Bull at some point, possibly next year, if they get Lewis and Charles there together. It is Mercedes could be in trouble, especially if McLaren gets their stuff situated or figured out. But it'll be hard. They have a break, and then they're going to go back to Japan later because they've changed how the schedule works. It's more continental based, so we're getting all the Asian races, or Eastern Hemisphere races, rather, out of the way. Japan will be next week, another late night race for us in the United States. But that is a track where we are a lot of turns. Aerodynamics is going to be important, and we're going to see what the pecking order is before we go to our first American race with coming here to Miami. Sorry.
Yeah, and just to kind of go back to something you said, Daryl, that uh, specifically about Ferrari being
Mm-hmm.
right there on the verge of it, or maybe I'm kind of combining where I'm going with what you said. But you said that Ferrari's got that rocket ship over there, um, and Ferrari is kind of like McLaren. They
Mm-hmm.
are they have a good car with bad leadership. They are Ferrari is good leadership, good race strategy away from being contenders. They have the car and they have the drivers. It is their pit wall that puts them in these non-winning situations.
Well, I think they're going to get a big upgrade because the rumor around the paddock is Bono is going to be coming to Ferrari, which that is a straight upgrade for them. Now,
Yeah.
Fred Vasseur is also getting more of his guys in, so we'll have to see how that goes for the rest of this season and how that develops. But I will say we have not had the Ferrari "What are you doing?" pit stop. We
No.
have not had that yet this season. And Jen, that became a meme on our show. And poor Michael isn't here because he'd be able to tell you. But there was a pit stop. They did this a couple of times, but I think the Netherlands was the most egregious, where they brought the car in and they didn't have the tires out.
What?
They
You have one
brought,
job.
they
The car
brought
was
the
parked. The car was stopped on on the jacks off the air, and that's when they were like, "Oh crap, we forgot to bring the tires." It's not even just once.
no, it happened a couple of times that
It
season.
wasn't, I don't think it was necessarily all four tires, but I can remember, I think it was a front tire that they didn't bring one of the tires out, so they had three of them.
Wow.
Some folks got fired when Fred Vasseur got in there, is what we're going to
Yeah.
say. He just took
I
over.
bet.
Some folks lost their job.
And Daryl likes making jokes, but what he fails to tell everybody is that they all left Ferrari and went straight to 2311, and they're now Bubba Wallace's pit crew.
Jesus Christ, yes, they are.
Poor Bubba.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that in the next segment. It wasn't even his fault this time. Um, yeah, Corey LaJoy is an idiot.
To be
We'll talk
fair,
about that in the
it
second
usually
segment.
isn't.
That's the messed up part. It's never. I know a lot of people say this with their drivers, but I can actually say this and not sound like an a-hole. It's never Bubba's fault when
I would
something
say
goes left, like
I
80%
would
of the time.
I was gonna say I would say sometimes it's no driver's 100% not at fault, but Bubba's certainly not helped out at all by his pit crew. I'd say out of a 38 race season, Bubba's responsible for a bad finish maybe like five times,
Yeah.
and his pit crew loses him the other 33.
I think last year, I think the ones that I can really say were his fault was Atlanta last year, the first Atlanta race. Where was that the race or was it the second one? So the first and the second one where the car was like really loose and he just spun it like 10 laps in. I think it was the second one. And then it was Talladega that year where if he just keeps that car on the bottom, he wins that race. But then he goes up, gets spun by Blaney. Like those are the two where I would say that was his fault, and the rest of them is just inexplicable pit crew
Yeah.
issues. But we'll get into that in the second segment. My last segment here for Formula One is Alpine for the first time since they were Renault way back in, I think, 2015, I think the post was. No points for a constructor team. My two-part question to you, Chris, is do they score points this season, and do they sell to Andretti at the end of the year?
One. Uh, Actually, you know what? Both can be answered by just no. I
Mm-hmm.
don't see them scoring points short of some crazy rain weather weekend like we had um a couple years. Who was it that won? Esti Bestie. He won a couple years ago because of some rain. I forget where that was though.
That was Hungary.
Yeah, short of something like that. Um, no, Alpine doesn't score points. And I don't see them selling either.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I usually after we hear a rumor about Andretti, usually it's followed up by another one pretty shortly thereafter, and we haven't really heard anything about Andretti in a while.
They have been very quiet. I think they're still working, I guess till 2028 now is what they're looking at. And of course, Formula One has had bigger fish to fry, so
But they're not, the grill's not started for them to fry though. That's the thing.
yeah.
They're talking about it.
I think 2028, when the Cadillac engine is ready, they'll get in. I think Formula One is going to have to let them in, but we'll see. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, there's been a lot of conversation about track limits in a sport where we don't hear it a lot. We'll talk about that on the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What up, Boston sports fans? This is Mikey Two Guns here, your host of Our Bleepin' City, airing every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Please join me. We'll talk everything Boston sports, all the local teams, college teams. I'm even down to talk MMA, boxing, whatever you guys want. So join me every Wednesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Chime in with your questions on the chat, tweet the show. We'll even have call-ins. I can't wait to hear from you guys. This is going to be a lot of fun. So once again, it's Our Bleepin' City. I am your host, Mikey Two Guns, every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. See you soon, people.
What's up, everybody? This is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is. your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
And we're back here on the Extra Mile IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Daryl, Chris, and Jen here with you this evening. We will have Michael Ward back next week, or if we have a show next week, to peel back the curtain. I am moving, and I don't know how things will be set. So the next time you guys will see me on Zoom, there'll be a completely different background back here. So
I'm going to have to take it in.
Yeah. We may not have a show next week, just depending on what we're doing with getting the house situated. I will definitely let you all know, and let you guys know, the fans, and of course, you two, Chris and Jen. So, and Michael as well, even though he's not here. But as I said during the commercial, or before the commercial, we did have a change, or not change, sorry. We had some track limit controversies at the Circuit of the Americas during the NASCAR weekend. A lot of drivers got dinged for a drive-through penalty for cutting the chicane at turn 3, which then prompted as NASCAR rules decisions often do, a huge to-do about nothing, about track limits and whether or not the track is too long, and then Dale Earnhardt Jr. piping up saying they should switch COTA with the North Wilkesboro race, which maybe it's before my time. I don't get, other than nostalgia, what is the big draw to racing at North Wilkesboro? Like, nostalgia. The race, none of the races were that great. I'm sorry. But moving forward from that, I only saw, there were only 4 calls in the Cup Series race. The Trucks and Xfinity had a lot more. What are your guys' thoughts about the whole track limit discussion in NASCAR?
I think it's good. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than, like, you go to a track and, like, what's the point of even racing on a track if you're not going to, like track design? You know what I mean? Like what's the point of even going to a track like that if you're just going to cut the track in different areas, make it basically straight line, tight corner, straight line, tight corner? You know, I think track limits are good. I think they're too lax with track limits, to be completely honest with you. I think they should be more stringent like F1 is. They've got the same track limit technology that F1 has. Use it.
I don't know if I want to get to Formula One level of track limits.
I'd like to see him try it for a practice, if we had practice. Just once. Show me what a couple laps of that looks like.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like seeing them like go off the corner the way they have, mainly because our cars, again, about double the size of a Formula One car. They might actually be able to make some of these corners. I think, however, there's one track where we need to do it. Watkins Glen Turn 1. They're not even on the actual straightaway until going into Turn 2 at this point.
And Turn 10. When they're coming down the straight, you've got the S curve and then on the end of it you got the pit, and then the front stretch.
Yeah.
The Turn 10 is the one before that. After they come down, they got the long straightaway.
Oh, you mean the carousel?
No. After that. So
the left-hander
around the carousel. Yeah, they come down
yeah.
Yes, you got the left-hander followed immediately by the right, but that left-hander, they run that. They barely even make that corner at this point.
The carousel kind of the same way. So there's a couple places.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, coming off the carousel, they use the boot pretty good.
Yeah.
They use all of that runoff. Yes, stuff like that. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, what's the point of even track design if if we're not going to be in the spirit of the track.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's I guess that's what I would say is road course racing is fun in the spirit of the track, which I don't think that NASCAR does a particularly good job of honoring the spirit of the track.
Jen, what do you think?
Um, I mean, I agree with you with the size of the car. It would probably be a little more difficult to enforce the F1, but um, I I also agree with Chris. It would be interesting to see it even for just a lap or two, just to see how they do with it.
Yeah.
But um, I don't know. This week's race was pretty cautionless.
Yeah, it helps because this track is so big. It's like 20 something turns. So if somebody did get spun around, and the runoffs are also very generous. So if somebody gets spun around, they just get it whipped back around and keep going. We didn't really have anyone stuff it into the wall, which is a good thing. But
Yeah.
I thought it was entertaining. I think we got a good mix of the early restart chaos, and then we had some pit strategy there at the end because the track is so big that
Yeah.
it worked out to be, in my opinion, probably the best racing we're going to see at COTA all year, at least till the bikes get there in a couple weeks. But
Yeah, no, I thought that it was a pretty solid race, actually, like you were saying. And it's nice now that, um, remember, uh, Darrow, I think it was Road America a couple of years ago,
mm-hmm.
how that was just so painful. Every spin was a caution. Caution laps took 20, 30 minutes to do. Was it Road America that was at?
It was Road America where the stage break at one point took 45 minutes.
Yeah. I'm glad that NASCAR learned a lesson off of that because that was like painful. Now, I do not like having the stage breaks back.
I blame Twitter for that. I wish they did not bring them back either, but
Like this is what pisses me off is people say they want fuel management and like people say they want to get rid of the stage breaks and then they actually do it and then they take it away a year later because presumably like you said people on Twitter complaining. But like we had Bristol a couple weeks ago that put on a fantastic show because of such high tire wear. And people are complaining about it on Twitter about how it was just ridiculous. The tire wear was ridiculous and it wasn't even a real race and stuff. And it's like,
well, I
my
was kind of
God,
in that number.
my God. I thought that was probably the most entertaining race I've seen in a long time. Honestly, that was, for me at least, that was the most exciting race since the Chicago Street Race. And then as far as memorable races go, like uh, it doesn't really get much more memorable for me than like SVG winning Chicago and kind of like Alex Bowman's wins. That Bristol race was just like phenomenal. Like I couldn't have written a better script for that if I had to. Short of
Mm-hmm.
like a couple good cautions. It would have been I'm not normally one to like to see wrecks, but a wreck or two would have been nice.
It would have been pretty nice, but I think it was fun. I like the road courses and the now street course that we have in Chicago. I think this year, provided the weather is a lot better, I think that race is going to be fantastic. Again, I think SVG, if he's in it, he's going to have a shot to win it, I think.
Now, what happened to him this week?
Gearbox broke.
Oh, that's right. He didn't have first gear.
Yeah.
And he was running like top 10.
Yeah, if he hadn't broken first gear, he probably would have been one of the few drivers to go after William Byron in the Cup race. In the Xfinity Series race, Austin Hill I'm starting not to like him because he runs everybody off the track, and then he tried to wreck SVG coming to the end, and he's getting to be one of those guys where nothing is his fault.
Yep.
Even though stuff is his fault, and
then he gets so mad when other people race him the same way he races people.
Oh my God, don't even get me started with that.
I can't stand a hypocrite like that. Like, say what you want, but somebody like Kyle Busch, he knows exactly who he is. And like, maybe he's not the best example, but I just like the guys like that, it just acknowledge the fact that they're kind of and pardon my French, but kind of a douche.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like those people. I respect those people that can say, like, that they're not the greatest. Like, when it comes to courtesy. Like Ross Chastain's apologetic, but I don't think he tries to deny that he doesn't race people hard.
Yeah. I'll just be nice when it comes to Chastain, but
maybe not my best example, but
yeah. Well, we're heading to Richmond this week, which should be this is going to be the first real test of the short track package. I don't count Bristol just because of how badly the tires went, but Richmond is a track that the last few years has not been great, but Tucson's good news. One, we're going back to night racing at Richmond where the track really came alive. And two, we have the new short track package and we give it an actual test. What are your guys' hopes for this week?
It's not a repeat of Phoenix.
I hope to God it's not a repeat of Phoenix.
Honestly, I hope it's not a repeat of any other Richmond race either.
Yes.
Richmond is my least favorite short track, other than Phoenix, but they don't really even call Phoenix a short track.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a much better race than what we have seen there in the last few years, but I always go in with a little bit of optimism before these races, or else why are we even watching? But coming into this week, this is also Denny Hamlin's home track. Fortunately, he gets a lot of boos there nowadays. What do we think of Hamlin's chances this week?
I'd say they're good. I mean, he's always running towards the front there. He as good of a chance as anybody else, if not better.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say he's the favorite.
I'm also excited to see what Truex does here. He's always run pretty well. I'm also hoping that Bubba Wallace, who had a couple of good runs here, obviously I'm hoping that he does well, but that team just needs 2311 in general just needs to they need to wake up. Tyler Reddick got one with a 5th place finish on Sunday. Bubba qualified 9th, but Corey LaJoie decided to clear himself coming off turn 8 on lap number 1 and just ruined him and Truex's day. And then he goes on his podcast and takes no accountability and actually blames Hamlin for the incident. Corey LaJoie is another one of those guys that is starting to become someone I don't really like that much.
He's his own worst enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty... I feel like that's a pretty common trend among race car drivers, not even just NASCAR, but basically anybody who gets into a race car, doesn't matter what level you are, whether it's your local dirt track or Formula One, you are usually your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And it's your ego is what it is.
Corey likes to talk about stacking pennies. Hopefully he starts stacking some common sense. That's how I look at it, because if you're going to race with the big guys, you need to drive like you got some sense, and he doesn't have it. Now, you can get away with that when you're driving in the 20s, not when you're racing for top 10s.
Yeah.
So if you want to check out the Richmond race, you can check that out on Sunday night on Fox. And we are going to take our final break of the night. When we come back, when we come back, we're going to talk about IndyCar and their attempt at an all-star race didn't go the way we thought it was going to go. We'll talk about that on the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Yeah.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you at the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
We're back here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Daryl, Jen, and Michael here with you this evening. Chris, sorry, Michael is not here. We're going to get briefly into IndyCar with the $1 million challenge. It was more like the $500,000 challenge. IndyCar fans were not thrilled by the race held at an exclusive club in California where they charged $2,000 a ticket for an exclusive club race, which basically turned into a televised test session at an exclusive club. Have I said that it was at an exclusive club enough times? Because that's how the broadcast basically talked about it on Sunday. And as Jalopnik put it, it was IndyCar basically trying to find investors and copying all the worst parts of Formula One. I'll say it like this and then go to you guys. IndyCar has had some bad press to start the year, and holding their second race of the season as an inconsequential points race at, again, an exclusive club that most fans couldn't go to, basically as an excuse to have a second race to actually make sure these teams make money at the end of the season, because that's all this was, doesn't look good for the health of the series. It just felt like a desperation move.
Yeah. It'll backfire, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
These types of things usually do. And it's I hate it when they do stupid gimmicks.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best way I can put it. And this seems like it was a rather dumb gimmick, in my opinion.
My problem with it is it absolutely kills all the momentum for the season. Because now you had a non-consequential points race, and we don't race again for points until the end of next month when we get to Long Beach. So you had St. Pete, a race that doesn't count, and then nothing. The schedule makers in IndyCar are just batting 1,000, aren't they?
Yeah. Pretty seems like it.
There's not much to really go into after that race. Alex Palou picked up the $500,000, but it was unfortunately, a snoozer, and a lot of folks are hoping it doesn't come back, at least from a fan's perspective. There's been a lot of conversation about what they could do if they go back, but I don't think they would want. I don't think a lot of fans want to see it back. I know I don't.
From what I heard, go ahead, Jen.
It doesn't sound like it had the desired effect, so it doesn't seem worthwhile to do it again.
Yep.
Yeah, that's essentially my sentiment as well.
One thing that actually does what it's supposed to, and that's nearest the win. We've got those picks coming up this week. We've only got one race. That's NASCAR at Richmond. Chris, tell us how we're doing.
All right, give me just 1 second here. Get that pulled up quick. And so, quick rundown through with the standings. I'm in the lead with 80 points. Miriam is second with 81. Daryl's third with 93. Ricky Keeler fourth with 96. Taryn Rodriguez fifth with 97. Matt White sixth with 98. My wife Stephanie seventh with 109. Marshall eighth with 113. Michael ninth with 120. Jen B is 10th with 123, and Corey is 11th with 132. So actually, there's a lot of tight races going on. We got a handful of people separated by about 5 points. We got 4 people separated by 5 points. So it's actually pretty tight. So, then just kind of looking ahead, all we've got this week is, I need to change this actually to Richmond. So all we've got this week is Richmond, and just looking down through it, Daryl is picking Kyle Larson. I am picking Tyler Reddick. Michael Ward is picking Christopher Bell. Stephanie is picking Alex Bowman. Matt White is picking Ty Gibbs. Marshall is picking Chris Buescher. Taryn is picking Christopher Bell. Jen is picking Alex Bowman. Ricky Keeler is picking Ty Gibbs. Corey Heffron is picking Denny Hamlin. A lot of Toyotas there. And Daryl, are you ready?
Yes.
I'm bringing you up on full screen because I want to see you when I tell you Miriam's pick.
Okay.
She is picking the driver of the number 4 Ford, Josh Berry.
You know what? I can't say anything because she's second in points right now.
You're third, though. You're third. You're 12 points back.
I would like to say she's just. I'm not helping her with these picks at all. She is doing this completely at random. She's supposed to be like our control group, yet she's in the championship running. So she knows something I don't. I guess I taught her well. That's the only thing I can think of.
So what I can say, Daryl, if it makes you feel better, is if I take out the no risk picks, she jumps down to 6th behind Matt White. She would have 101 points, but she's gotten, so she's gotten 3 of the no risk picks right. Yeah. She's gotten 3 right, Daryl, and unfortunately you have gotten none.
I would have had this one coming up. I wasn't expecting Max Verstappen to blow up a brake and both of the Mercedes not to finish.
Yeah, she was the only one that picked 3.
Yep.
So she got minus 10 points on that one. That was a big week last week. And I'm glad I made it worse so much too, because it just kind of funny to see how it played out.
She must be getting the scripts that I'm not getting.
Apparently.
She's getting the scripts that nobody's getting.
Yeah.
Yeah. She knows somebody. She must be talking to Susie Wolf.
She must be. She must have been the person she was. She must have been the person that was getting the insider information, not Toto.
Yeah. And so our no-risk pick this week was, do we finish with a green-white checker? Daryl says no. I say no. Jen says yes. So my question for you guys is, I will go pull this up quick. And we have 11 people. And out of those 11 people, what do you think the split is between yes or no, finishing with green-white checker?
You know, even though I did say no, it is a short track, and it kind of lends itself to green-white checkers. I'm going to say a good 60% said yes.
Okay. Jen, what do you think?
I was gonna say 7-4.
So, 9 people said no for 82%,
Wow.
and 2 people said yes, that it will finish under a green-white checker. Those 2
Okay,
people.
I need a green-white checker so that I can move up in the points.
So the 2 people that think that we'll end with a green-white checker are Michael Ward and Jen Bryant.
I need it not to go green-white checker then.
Yeah. So it's only worth 5 points, so it's not a big one. I figured that we'll do 5 points for like a yes or no question, and kind of base it off of how hard it would be to get the question right.
Well, hey, good luck to everyone's picks this week. We're getting ready to close out this show. Of course, Gen B will also be on Tuesdays for the Show of the Land, Tuesdays at 6 Eastern. Jen, what you got cooking for next week?
Baseball opening week. So we will get into the Guardians and how things are starting out for them, and we'll see if there's any news on the Browns front or what's happening in basketball. Hockey's getting ready to wrap up, so we won't be talking about that too much because the Blue Jackets have pretty much thrown in their hats now that they're eliminated. So it'll probably mostly be baseball and basketball. Hopefully the Cavs can get things back in order.
Mm-hmm.
Go Reds.
Go Nats, even though they got absolutely destroyed in Game 1 earlier this week or earlier today. But if you want to follow all things Cleveland sports, check out the Show of the Land IE on Twitter, and also listen to Gen B's show, the Show of the Land, Tuesday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern here on IE Sports Radio. And of course, I can be reached at DK Jr. 12. Chris is at Fiji Sims. Make sure you keep it locked on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for the for IE Sports Radio as well as the Extra Mile on Twitter and TikTok. And make sure you check out IESportsRadio.com. Get in with all of our shows. Check out any episode of any show you may have missed. Purchase some merch and more. And if you missed any episode of any iSports Radio show, you can listen to wherever you get your podcast, as well as the YouTube repository, which is a copy of every show we've ever done. So that will wrap it up for this edition of the Extra Mile. For Chris and Gen B, I'm Daryl. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.